You know, when you hire a personal trainer, you're placing a ton of trust in them, right? With your health, your goals, your body. You just assume that the person yelling one more rep really knows their stuff. But what if that's not always the case?
So, let me ask you this. Is the fitness advice you're paying for based on actual fact, or is it just fiction? It's a pretty important question, and honestly, the answer might just shock you. Okay, so there's this new study from Australia, and it's pretty eye-opening. Get this. It reveals that even fully qualified personal trainers, yeah, the experts we hire, can be walking around with some major misconceptions about fitness.
And this leads us right into what the researchers are calling the trainer's knowledge gap. It's basically this huge chasm between what the science actually says and what a lot of trainers believe and then pass on to their clients.
Now, when we say misconception, what does that really mean? Well, the study is super clear about this. It's not just about being wrong about a little fact. A misconception is a deeply held belief that goes completely against what science tells us. And these things are sticky. They're really, really hard to shake.
And here's the real paradox, right? Other research shows that trainers are usually super confident about what they know. But this study, it suggests that confidence and competence don't always go hand in hand. And, for us as clients, that can be a pretty risky combination.
So you're probably wondering, how in the world did they figure all this out? Well, let's dive into how they set up the study, because it's pretty clever, and it's really key to understanding why these findings are so important. Okay, so they took 3 different groups of people. First up, you've got the total newbies, students just starting their fitness qualification. We'll call them the pre-vet group. Then you've got the students who just finished that same program, the post-vet group. And finally, they brought in the pros, qualified personal trainers who are actually out there working in the industry. All right, so they gave all 3 groups the same test, called the Exercise Science Knowledge Survey. And this wasn't your average high school gym quiz. It was designed to test 3 specific things. First, their actual exercise knowledge. Second, how many common fitness myths they fell for. And third, and this is super important, their critical thinking skills.
And the results, well, they were not what you'd expect. Instead of seeing knowledge get better and better with on-the-job experience, the researchers found something they called a knowledge plateau.
Okay, so check this out. The good news is the students who just finished their course knew a lot more and had way fewer misconceptions than the beginners. Phew. So education works, right? But here's the bombshell. The experienced working trainers, they scored almost exactly the same as the brand new graduates. All that time on the gym floor didn't seem to help them unlearn any more of those myths. I mean, the researchers didn't pull any punches in their report. They literally said, and I'm quoting here, PMTs did not differ from post-VET students in knowledge, misconceptions, or critical thinking ability. It's like the learning just stopped cold the day they got their certificate. And this, for me, is the real kicker. We all just assume that more experience equals more expertise, right? Well, this study found absolutely no connection. A trainer with a decade of experience was just as likely to believe fitness myths as someone who graduated last week. Let that sink in for a second.
So if experience isn't the magic ingredient, then what's really going on? What's the root cause? Well, the study suggests the problem isn't on the gym floor at all. It's something much deeper.
It all comes down to a tricky little thing our brains do called confirmation bias. We all have it. It's our brain's tendency to look for and believe information that backs up what we already think is true, and to just ignore anything that challenges it. So if a trainer already believes a myth, their brain is literally wired to find more proof for it, not to question it.
This means the problem isn't about memorizing facts, it's about having the right skills. See, there's a huge difference between domain-specific knowledge, knowing your anatomy, how to do a squat, and critical thinking skills. It's one thing to name every muscle in the leg, but it's a completely different ballgame to be able to look at a new fitness trend on social media and tell if it's legit or just total junk.
And let's be real, that skill is absolutely vital today. Trainers are just swimming in a sea of information, right? They've got the good stuff like textbooks and research journals, but they're also bombarded by online forums, social media gurus, magazines, even just advice from friends. It's a total minefield of information.
So let's just boil it all down to this. The problem isn't a lack of info. The world is drowning in it. The real issue this study points to is that the training programs might be great at teaching the facts you need to pass an exam, but they might be failing to teach the lifelong skill of critical thinking. And that's the skill you need to survive in a world of ever-changing and often baffling fitness advice.
Okay, so that all sounds a little grim, right? But it begs the question, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? How do we use this knowledge to create smarter trainers and, just as importantly, smarter clients?
Well, for the fitness industry, this study is basically a huge wake-up call. The takeaway is clear. Just teaching facts isn't enough. The ability to think critically, to question, to evaluate, to analyze new information, that has to become a central part of every single training and certification program out there.
And what about for you, the client? Honestly, this is all about empowering yourself. Don't just blindly follow instructions. Become an active partner in your own fitness. Ask your trainer, hey, why are we doing this exercise? Or where did you learn about this nutrition plan? A really good trainer won't just tolerate those questions, they'll love them, and they'll have solid, science-backed answers for you.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We spend so much time in the gym training our biceps, our legs, our cores, but maybe, just maybe, in this age of information overload, the single most important muscle we can train for our long-term health isn't in our body at all, but in our head.